Good evening, proper ladies and gentlemen. We have a very esteemed show for you tonight. We're with Sir Brace with Showtime's Gigolo. Sir Brace, how are you?
I'm great. And I'd like to say welcome to Real Vegas podcast. I'm Brace, and today we're going to talk about proper etiquette between two proper gentlemen about the proper way to go through life. Thank you.
Esteemed gentlemen.
Esteemed?
Proper conversations. This is Real Vegas podcast. Let's get into it. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a very proper show. This is Real Vegas and Real Conversations. I am here with Brace from Showtime's Gigolo. How you doing, Brace?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, man. How you been?
I'm good. I'm just staying out of trouble, and I'm not too active these days as far as the business, but I'm active in my rentals and gym and things like that.
So, you say you're not too active these days. So you're not. Are you currently not doing the?
No, I'm not.
Like what people know you from? Actually,
No, I'm not in that business. No, it's it's TV, it's entertainment. When we were shooting the show, it was another thing, and whatever. And TV is entertaining. It's like whatever you show people, they believe in. It's really weird because people believe whatever they see on TV.
So speaking of, for people who don't know, what show were you exactly on, and what network was it? How many seasons and all that good stuff?
Gigolos, it was the name of the show. It was on Showtime, and we went 6 seasons.
That's wow, 6
which,
seasons?
If you know anything, this is what I was told by producers. They say if you're on the series and you make it to 6 seasons, you're in the 1% of shows that were shot in a series.
That's amazing.
1% makes it that far.
So you made it 1% of shows.
1%. So we shot 54 episodes, and there may be more gigolos to come from what I'm hearing through the grapevine. So.
Oh, no way! So like, what are you hearing?
Well, we shot with Paramount for the last year. We shot a documentary about the Ash murder situation. And the producers, again, are Paramount, and they're out of Canada this time. We do have one producer that's from the Jigs production team. And anyhow, we shot a documentary about that. And so they're going to shoot, it'll be a 3-hour special on Paramount. So they're going to shoot 3-hour segments. They're going to streamline Jigs. And then the rumor is they're going to resurrect Gigolos for some more seasons.
No way.
Yeah. So that's what they said.
So again, like people I think know. So people know what I do for a living. So I consider us colleagues.
Yeah. Okay.
I know. Maybe you're kind of out of it. I'm still kind of fully in it. I'm still doing. I'm doing the podcast.
Yeah, you're right in the eye of the storm. Right now,
I literally left the Bellagio today. I had clients at the Bellagio. So they're definitely in the eye of the storm. To go back, I'd like to say everyone can have their horror stories. I'm sure you have your good and your bad, but most part, my experiences have been great in this business.
Yeah.
And from what you've become, your experience has been pretty good. But you had said something, and it's going to come out on the show you're talking about. So for people who don't know, there was this gentleman his name was Ash, correct?
Yes.
And he worked for a certain company. And can you, if is what you're comfortable talking about, can you fulfill the people in on what's going on with that guy? Because it's a very serious, horrible thing.
It is. I mean, bottom line, he murdered a girl through a drug ceremony that they did. They were all tripping on drugs. Berserker mushrooms, I think, were the number one ingredient.
So he's taking mushrooms with a client, and then it goes bad.
To do kind of like a cleansing type thing, whatever, a ceremony. To me, mushrooms and Molly, it's kind of like a sexual thing. So you're going to do these with somebody, and then you're going to have sex, and it's going to be so great, and it's a healing process. Whatever he was trying to sell, that's what they were involved in. But he apparently they went too far. They were too drugged out, and she says she was being attacked by some demons or some little gnomes or whatever. And they're on mushrooms. And some other, I bet some other things.
They have to, because I have to say, like, I understand there's a thing called like you can have a bad trip. And I've had those. Like when I was a teenager, I've had those, but never that deep. So she thinks some kind of entity, some kind of gnome, some kind of something's after her.
That were burning, making her get on fire or something like that.
Wow.
And I've heard these little gnomes. I talked to some other people that are into mushrooms like that, and they say that's kind of a thing that you see sometimes with these little like gnomes. I don't know. I've never done it like that.
So I do kind of know. So with the mushrooms aspect, it's not. But the peyote and the ayahuasca,
Okay.
so it's basically peyote. So everyone, like I've had friends that have done it, and they do talk about these gnomes.
Okay.
And people that do that all have the same story, like you said. They see these gnomes, but
wow.
So I don't know. Again, when we're speaking about higher things, so it's like I don't know if it's your spirit or stuff that you're dealing with internally. But I've never heard these gnomes. Like for my friend that I have named Jason, great guy. He's a shaman. He's all about spiritual awakening, and he's a really nice, down to earth guy. These gnomes are like friendly. They're like friendly gnomes.
Maybe if you're in the state of mind where you're feeling friendly, so you would if your mind is giving off a frequency of friendliness, you usually attract. It's like vibration.
You attract what you are.
You track what your mind's giving out. I think maybe that he was mad at somebody or whatever. I don't know what. I don't know.
Dude, that's what. So they take these whatever they take, and then she thanks these gnomes or whatever after. And then how does it go from just a bad trip to? I mean, this guy's in prison for murder.
Yeah, 11 years. I don't have any experience in the mushroom world. I've never I've never done them where I was always afraid of them. So, but what I know out here is like every time we used to go out all the time, and the people are doing Molly, whatever, and next thing you know, they're doing a bump of this, they're doing a bump of that, they're doing a bump of this, and it was always a continuation of more drugs. And I'm thinking, oh my God, sooner or later something's not going to mix, and it just makes you where you black out, and that's where you get the term blackout Barbie. They do that with just alcohol, let alone a bunch of narcotics and hallucinogens that these guys were on.
So they're doing this, and then so from what you know, how does this go from a bad trip to murder? Like what happened? Did she kill herself? I mean, what's going?
We've heard all kinds of different things. I
don't know what's on the police report.
She supposedly asked him to beat these things out of her that were attacking her, beat them off or something. Something in that world. And I haven't read any stuff online. I haven't read anything. I'm just going by what I know. And
from the people that you know, you're close.
I was basically there. So
that happened.
Well, again, any time I've ever experimented drugs where you got a little too high or something, I was always in a state where I want to go lay down, I want to sleep it off, and I've never got to the point where I was violent. I just don't get violent unless somebody's coming violent to me.
Unless it's self-defense.
Yeah,
of course.
That's just me. I'm not into the violent stuff, and that's why when I see this violence, it's so traumatizing to me, to something that went to this level. And he was on too many drugs, and he could have had some stuff in his mind about, he could have saw his ex-girlfriend that he was still hung up on, and something triggered. I don't know. I really don't know. And it's really not his nature, which I like to say, because he always was, the Zen guy, the yoga guy or whatever. But again, we don't know who anybody is when you come to Vegas. You come to Vegas, choo-choo, last stop Vegas. You get to pick any name you want. You get to pretend whoever you want to be, and that's what goes on here in Vegas.
So basically, from what I've heard, and they have a bad trip. She thinks these things, these gnomes or these demons or whatever have you, dark shadows, whatever you want to call it, are attacking her. And he basically beats her to death.
To death, for sure.
Whew.
To death. There was blood all over the room, and she laying there like a mummy, like a crash dummy, all discombobulated. It was, it was just a horrible thing, and that's what they're doing a documentary on it. It'll be and it's sad to say, but a lot of people are going to watch this documentary because this is real stuff.
That's crazy.
I mean, it is real.
God bless her soul.
Real.
That's so horrible.
So I'm in the house.
The house where
that happened. So I'm reliving it, and it was just the feeling that I was getting, and it was so overwhelming. And again, I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to sell or whatever. I'm just telling my story.
You're just telling the
story. I just tell my story. I'm not nuts. I'm not on drugs, whatever. I usually keep it pretty much right online. And my story, it's crazy. That documentary is going to be crazy. It's going to hook people, which leads me into the next part of what we're doing with this. Is like, again, Paramount's going to shoot 3-hour special, hour this night, hour next night, hour the next. They're going to streamline Gigolo seasons with it. Going to pick up new viewers, which I think there'll be millions. And then their idea is to shoot a new series of Gigolo, so they're going to cast 5 new guys.
Oh, well, hey.
So you might get on there.
Oh, hey, man, with your help.
Well,
maybe you can hey, you're shooting with Paramount. Why don't you let them know about your boy Tyler May?
They don't care about me anymore. They already made millions of dollars off what I gave them, and now I'm just an old shoe. So
oh, come on, Brace. You ain't an old shoe.
Well, I mean, to them.
Hey, man, I mean, I gotta be honest with you. Like, I low key looked up to you.
Well, why not? I mean, I try to conduct myself in a good way.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm saying, like, you always, again, I felt like you were the more mature. And at the time you were doing that Showtime show, Gigolos.
Yep.
I was a male entertainer, a male dancer in Las Vegas, working for Sin City strippers. Yep. I was working all the time, but I wasn't doing what you were doing. And I would see that show, and I'd be like, man, I'd always see you. I would see you and go, if I could be like that guy one day, and not to toot my own horn, but hey guys, I'm in a suit. I'm working for the same company that you work for. So I work for a company called Cowboys for Angels, which is the company I believe you worked for at one point. And
for a minute.
And I made it, guys. If I can do it, you can do it. And I just want to say, I would see the show, and you seem like the more level-headed guy. You really did.
Well, it was just doing the show was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And we didn't even know it was going to get to, when we shot it out here in Vegas for a week, they didn't even tell us the name of it. We didn't know that we were going to be, doing these sexual, themes with these women. They didn't tell us that.
But obviously they talked that up for the show. For people who don't know, there's really no sexual stuff that goes on for Cowboys, but for the show, because here's why I bring it up. Because I was watching a show called, you're a wrestling fan?
Yeah,
Have you seen The Dark Side of the Ring?
No.
They did an episode on Buff Bagwell.
Oh, yeah, Buff was on the show for a minute.
And he talked about how he actually went through and slept with a client, basically. And the producer's like, you were supposed to do that. So, yeah, that's open information. But, yeah.
Well, bottom line is like they showed us having sex, but it doesn't mean that we were really having sex. Just so you know that.
Yes.
And again, it's entertainment. And it's, again, to me, it was like it was like a check that says, Brace, do whatever you want to do, say whatever you want to say. And I just took over and I just did whatever, I just had fun with it because it was a business opportunity to me. I wanted to, earlier in my life, my goal was to get into acting, and that's why I did martial arts for all these years and everything and blah, blah, blah. But I had such a good job in Michigan that had a retirement, that had, benefits for life and all this. And I was already living in a brand new place, driving brand new Corvettes.
You already had all that before.
Before
Showtime even approached you.
Yes, exactly. And I shot the first 2 seasons of the show. I was still working at my job, which was a great job in Michigan. So then I finally got the opportunity, since I was an adult, to go away. So I got a full retirement from where I was at General Motors.
No way.
Yeah, and I got out early.
So you get the full retirement early before even all that. So you're already kind of set up.
So yeah, I was already set up before that show even started. So what I'm saying is I took that early retirement like that, and then I moved right here to Vegas because I had that much confidence the show would go, and it went another 4 seasons.
Dude, it went.
Yeah.
That show went. Like I there were so many times where I did no BS. There were so many times where I would do bachelorette parties. They go, hey, do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? And they bring up a guy named. Do you still talk to a guy named Nick Hawk or Nick Eagle Hawk?
Well, of course. I haven't talked to Nick in about 3 years. He's doing his own. I think he's a shaman or something.
Well, here's why I asked. So we're still friends on social media, and I don't mean to put you on Front Street, but he's doing his own little show now.
Well, I guess Front Street's better than Back Street.
Right? Oh, I get depending on who you are, but so basically, he put this about you.
Brace fucked up. Gigolo's truth. Brace coming soon.
So basically,
what is that?
So I was going to ask you. I have no idea. What did you? Did you have any idea what this?
I have no idea. I haven't talked to Nick in 3 years.
So he just randomly wants to.
I know he's tripping on ayahuasca, and he's a shaman, a PhD, a physicist, a doctor, a scientist. And all this stuff, there was online classes and stuff, but I haven't talked to him in 3 years. So who knows what's going on in your mind when you're tripping? I don't know.
I used to be, I want to say really good friends, but I was friends with Nick for a couple of years. And where I got kind of my notoriety on the internet was I did a show with a guy named Mark has a show called Soft White Underbelly.
Yep.
And I did 2 episodes or two tapings with him. But the first taping I got with him was here in Vegas, and Nick had actually introduced us.
Okay.
Because he wanted to interview Nick because of the Gigolo show, but then he also just wanted to interview, and I'm as full-time as a male dancer as you get, as far as like private shows. I never did clubs. Okay. I only did private.
Well, that's what Nick came from that when he was dancing at some bar in LA like that, too.
And again, so I'm only going from what I've heard and from what people have told me firsthand and what I've seen. So we both do the show. Our episodes come out about the same time, and the comments on Nick eat him alive. And I don't know why, but they were not very positive. Okay. So bad to where I don't know the details, but the comments are turned off on his episode. And Mark doesn't usually do that unless I think you would ask. I'm not saying Nick asked, but something happened where they got turned off. My episode, however, I'm Tyler Made. I'm as true as they get. I own up to my stuff. I am who I am. But ever since then, that's when he became, I don't know what happened.
He ghosted you?
He ghosted everybody after that.
Well, I don't know.
That. I mean, that's when he became. And again, I'm not dissing him. Maybe he maybe he's living a better life.
I think
but
he's
changed a lot.
I think maybe he is, and I think this road he's going down with this, shaman type thing, or in ayahuasca. I've seen a lot of people; their lives were upside down, and they turn to ayahuasca, and it makes them really calm into their world, and they really start to realize things, and it helps a lot of people. And maybe that's where he's at. I don't know. I haven't talked to him.
So I've heard so as far as what you were saying with ayahuasca, I've only heard positive things about it. I've never really heard like the bad. Like obviously, I don't know what the ash or whatever we're doing, but I've only heard great things about that.
Well, here's the thing. I hear when you do ayahuasca, you puke and you defecate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like if you ever had the flu really bad, where you're puking, you're pooping, and it's like a cleanse and whatnot. And a lot of people, that's how they react to it. And to me, that doesn't sound that good. And if you pictured yourself, if you ever had the flu and you went through that, when it's over, when you wake up that next morning or 2 mornings after that, you feel cleansed, like, oh my God, I feel so much better. God, I feel so good, because your body's fighting something, a virus.
I always feel good too after I take a big shit. Right? I mean, not to sound like a jerk, but it's just the truth.
Okay.
So, but as far as what you have no idea when he's saying Brace fucked up. You said you haven't talked to him.
No, here's the deal. We shot. I don't even know if Nick. I think Nick was involved. I think they did some interviews with Nick for this Paramount, which we're doing it for this documentary.
Well, it makes sense. He was a big part of the show.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know if he's looking. I don't know. I have no idea. It's crazy.
Should we call him?
And I just live. Oh my God, that would be so funny.
I
am so quiet these days. I spend half the year in Vegas, half the year in South America, or quarter of the year South America, quarter of the year in Michigan. So I deleted all my social accounts.
Michigan.
Everything's done. Yeah, I go back there and I rest, and I see my family.
Cheaters.
Anyhow,
Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide.
Whatever. I don't care about all that. But Michigan's a good place to live. It's a good place if you want to raise a family. It's a good place that's safe, where they're not going to burn you out or flood you out, I don't think. But
right. I grew up in Indiana, so I understand.
Did you? Okay.
You get a good. Right, kind of close. You get the good. Yeah. I had a really great childhood.
Yeah.
Playing baseball.
Yep.
Having friends in the neighborhood, flashlight tag, all the nine.
Yeah.
But so you have no idea what he's talking about. So back, me and you are both. I consider us both extinguished gentlemen in the trade, and I know you're not as active, but when you were active, if you don't mind, what are some of the oddest, maybe one of the oddest calls, or can you tell us anything about some weird things or calls that you've been on, or situations you've been in, please?
That's part of the episodes that we relived on the show. And this will be a great plug for the TV show Gigolos, people that haven't seen it before.
So people who don't know, there's a show called Gigolos. It was on Showtime. It did 6 seasons, and it's going to air back on Paramount Plus, correct?
Yeah, well, you can watch it right now, whatever you got to go to get it, Showtime. But bottom line is, we relived a lot of the scenes that we did. I would tell them, hey, this would be a good idea, that would be a good idea, or or they would come up with some or whatever. And they were scenes that things that you thought were odd that people had asked you to do. And again, I never really understood what freaks people were, like couples that are married for all this time. And a lot of these women run the show. Like if you could see it too. These women,
100%, 100%.
Yes, yeah. These
Dude,
women.
The women. I'm sorry,
know.
the women. Okay, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
So I'm just saying they run the show because this is what happens. All these hot women are bitches until they're like 35. Then they marry some simp that worships them. That's like 4 clicks down, but he's got money. So then they gotta get have sex with them at least once a week to keep them happy, and then they live in a big nice house and cars, whatever. But they want to get railed still by other guys. So what they do is they call people that are in the industry, and they'll say, hey, they'll beat down their husband so bad they're going to say, hey, you're going to be a cuck, and you're going to sit in that closet, and you're going to watch this guy just pound me.
You would hit the nail on the head, my friend. That most of the couples that I've come in contact with over the years doing the couples thing is it's never the husband calling the shots.
For sure.
It's always him sitting in what they call it the cuck chair. It's so true. It's so.
He's getting demasculated. He's getting like
all for him.
It's like urinating on him in front of a crowd of people and throwing some scat at him, like, you suck, Johnny.
Which I never understood. I guess there's I saw a friend named I have a friend named Jamie, and we used to joke about the penguin and the shark theory. So you have men that are penguins, you have men that are sharks, and women will date a penguin and take fish from the penguin and give it to the shark.
For sure.
And they're always going to want the shark.
Yeah.
And that is so. There's something about that you're right. The women get a little bit older. They get to their 30s or closer to their 40s. They have to. The
walls start closing in,
and they're gonna grab whoever who's got money. But that instinct to just want to be dominated, they can't. No offense to guys, some of you guys out there. I mean, everyone's born different, but they just don't have. They don't have the shark in them. They don't have the shark in them.
You'd be surprised. And it's the end game for these women, especially that are in this industry. They rule the earth when they're 25 or whatever, and everybody wants a piece of them. and by the time they're done, in their 30s, and being ran through by so many, nobody wants them anymore. And, the alpha males and the sigma males are just like, well, you've been ran through by 200 dudes, 500 dudes, whatever. And psychologically, I mean, the women themselves, they're really. It screws them up, and I'm not picking on them. I'm just saying, and they think that they're so strong they can get through it. And in the end, their end game is most of them spend all their money, and then they end up with a simp, which they're just miserable, and then that's the rest of their life.
And I think you might be 100% right. I have experienced it. I will say there's exceptions. There is times where
for sure.
Where I call them the super happy couples.
For sure.
Where the guy is very bull, but he's getting laid. He wants his wife to get laid. They're making tons of money, and you can tell there's a dynamic where they're both in control. But more times than not, and again, it's a cuck submissive husband who can never get laid for some reason. Don't have the shark, because I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not the richest man in the world by any means, but I could pull baddies when I was living in my car.
Yeah.
I never had a problem pulling baddies. But there's some guys out there I see some guys that have all this money. It's like, and all they care about is getting a piece of ass. And I'm like, you just never got laid before.
I know.
It's not that big of a deal. Like,
exactly.
I mean, what the heck, man?
Exactly. And it's just crazy because here's another thing. And like, you go into one of these strip clubs, Crazy Horse or with Rhino, you go in there, and the first thing these girls say to you is, hey, where are you from? Because they're trying to figure out if you're one of these guys from Michigan or Minnesota or Indiana, and it's a work thing where you're coming here for 4 days, and you gotta, you've been saving all year, and you got a couple grand to spend.
It's so funny.
And they're sizing you up, and as soon as you go, no, I'm from Vegas, I've had women literally go, oh, and then they run off like a little rat. because they know if you're from Vegas, you already know the game. They're just working you over.
That's so true.
They're hoping that you're one of these little cucks from Indiana or Michigan or wherever. So they want to take you back into that VIP room, get your credit card, and roll it up to $5,000. I mean, it's just like,
and you don't even get a handy.
Well, I don't know. I've never been back in there because I'm not down with any of that. It's just like I'm like, well,
no, but if it's her, I just know I've known people from that have told me that this girl was so. I mean, I've had people, man, they get this syndrome.
I know.
Man, she was so hot. It's like, what'd you? Yeah. And I'll look at some friends sometimes and go, what did you spend on her? You spent $900, and like I know that's on the low side, maybe. Yeah. I'm like, you spent $900. Did you get? What do you mean? I got her number. You got her number.
But she's
she's getting railed right now by some fucking by
Chad.
Yeah, by some fucking alpha. Just any alpha.
Yeah.
Just by any guy that has any sense of self-respect as far as, because I've always never, I know it sounds like an asshole thing to say, but I've always just never cared.
There you go. Me either. I don't give a shit because I've had so much tail in my life.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't give a shit. You know what's funny? When you go into these strip clubs too, you know, and not a lot of people recognize me when I go into strip clubs anymore because my hair's not white or whatever. But some of
you're known for your platinum.
Yeah, it's usually platinum when we're shooting. But so when I used to go in these clubs, of course the owners would go, "Brace, we love you, come on." So then everybody's, the women a lot more. So I mean, anyhow, these women would come up to me, and it was just like a scene that you'd shoot in a movie. One would sit down and she'd go, 1,000. Like that's she wanted it for sex. I didn't even ask her. Then next thing you know, another girl would come up. She'd go, 1, 5, 1,500, and it was the funniest shit I've ever seen. But that's what these women do in these strip clubs. That it's hilarious. And there's guys out there that are willing to pay them. They'll pay $1,500, $1,000 just to cook one off. And I'm like, these guys are crazy.
I'll tell you a funny story. So years and years ago, I came off a show called, remember a show called Dr. Drew's Celebrity Rehab?
Yes.
So they had a Celebrity Rehab sex addiction
Okay.
version, and I was casted for that. And they were bringing me in late, and they had a cast member, a UFC fighter, someone dropped out, and then they were going to use me, so they put me in a hotel room for like a week. Yep. I did the whole 9. They ended up not using me. They're like, I'm so sorry. Oh. We already got the show rolling. Okay. But they gave me a settlement.
Yeah.
Because, it's TV.
Yeah, you took your time.
I took my time, so they paid me for my time. And so I had a nice chunk of change at 20-something years old, and I had a friend with me, Wes, and we live here in Nevada, so we went to Pahrump. I said, let's go out to one of the chicken ranches. I've never been. I've always just wanted to go.
To see it?
Just I want the girls to line up, and I'll treat you. It's on me. Yeah. I pay. It's on me. So we go there, and the girls line up. We must have went late at night because like 5 girls lined up. So you went from like super fat to somewhat. So I was like, oh my God. So I was there for my friend.
Yeah.
For my friend.
It's a funny thing to do, an experience for your friend.
And just to sit there and experience.
Yeah, right. And see what they're gonna say, like 1, 5, 3.
That's where I'm
2.
getting at. Yeah. So we go. I pick a girl, and she takes me to her room, and we sit down, and she hands me a menu, and God. Oral starts at like 1,000, and I'm like,
oh my God.
So I looked at her, and I looked at her, and I go, honey, I said, times are tough. We're in a recession. I said, I got $200.
Yeah, exactly.
She went for it. Yeah. So we start doing it right.
No asking, no getting.
So before we started, no BS. She had on her nightstand, she had like a magnifying glass with a light on it, and asked me to put my penis under it so she could look to see if there's any marks to make sure I didn't have anything.
Oh wow.
So I was like, yeah, okay. So we start doing.
So you had to slap your meat on a piece of
petri dish. I had to put it underneath the slide. No BS.
I know, I get it.
So we start doing it right, and then.
Wait a second, doing what? So now you're just having sex?
So we're doing oral.
Okay.
And she's talking dirty or whatever, and then she starts half-assing it, and then quits doing it, and then like wants me to finish myself, and I said, honey, I didn't pay.
Exactly.
I could have stayed at home.
Exactly.
Because alpha, man, I don't actually say an alpha, but just my real personality came out from it. Because all of a sudden now I was like, I got blue balls. Yeah. So then she gets so mad. Bouncers come in, kick me out. Then My friend tells me later, he was in the middle of actually getting it on. They're like, "Are you with that guy with the tattoos? You got to get the hell out of here." They kicked us out. So that was my first experience at a ranch. But the funny story is, I got so well known as I hate saying that, but well known as a dancer in Vegas. The chicken ranch in Vegas, the girls hired me 3 times to go work there.
To go dance really?
For the girls.
Oh, wow.
The girls had birthday parties. Parties. And they gave me a tour. So I went from getting kicked out to getting hired. So I got my money back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. So just an exclusive. Can you give us one exclusive for our viewers? What is a strange, funny thing? Or just give me a wild story from one of your dates from when you used to do this.
I just did. It was the cuck thing where a man and a husband and wife come, nice, beautiful hotel room, and she wants him to sit in the closet.
Oh, wait a minute. So you were that when you talk about the closet, you actually were in a room once, and she actually had him go.
Oh, yeah. That's nothing. I mean,
wow.
Apparently you haven't.
Usually they have them in the chair and they watch.
Apparently you haven't followed the Diddy stuff, because that's what a lot of dudes are into, and that's what a lot of women are into, because they want to demasculize their husband because they think he's such a pussy. He's the fucking cuck. And she's like, "Hey, cuck,
and they
get your ass in that closet." And they're like, "Yeah, because I run the show, because I got the snatch, and you got the cash." So these guys are like, "Okay, honey."
I never would understand that.
And I understand it fully, and I just probably that's why I'm not married or whatever.
I hooked up with this girl once, so we hung out at the bar for a minute, and she's like, "All right, let's go up to the room, right?" And I knew she had a husband. It was a whole cuck thing. But we get to the room, right? And she doesn't have the room key. And so she calls him to come up to let us in the room. And he's like, "Can I watch?" She goes, "No, you need to leave. I'll be done when I'm done." And he left. And I was like, I have some morality. I felt bad for the guy for a second. I did.
If you're a normal person and if you are very active in that business, I mean, that's the kind of, just like, you asked me earlier, have you ever had a girl buy a Rolex? I always, whenever I was dabbling in it, I'm not a take advantage of anyone, because I already have everything. I already have everything that I want. I'm kind of the same way,
man. I don't take advantage of it.
I feel bad about it. Yeah, if somebody showed up with one, I already have a few of them or whatever, and I would say, well, wow. I don't know how good I would feel about taking it, but if she had a lot of money, then I'd say, okay.
I'm the same way.
So
I had a, in fact, that client I had earlier, they're an older couple. They're really wealthy, and they're just so nice.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting changed, and we're talking, and I'm a good guy. And the husband left to my right here, his fat stack of probably $5,000 in his wallet, where I could just, if I was a dick, but I would never do that. And he goes, "Honey, have you seen?" And they're looking for it. I don't know that that's the wallet. And all of a sudden I go, "Hey, are you looking for this?" And then I gave it to him. They're like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." I'm like, "What do you mean, thank you so much?" I'm not that kind of guy. But then they told me a story about, when we're talking about Rolexes, they had a guy once. I don't know who the guy is. I'd call him out right now. I would, because it gives guys like you and I, or at least me. I know you're retired. Guys, there's
a lot of thieves in.
They stole his Rolex.
Women and men will steal. A lot of them will steal a lot of stuff.
They stole his Rolex.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, these clients of mine are, even though I know that we work in this industry, they are really, they're sweethearts, man.
Yeah.
They're super nice. And if you were to ask them for something, they give it to you.
Thieves are scumbags. I just.
Scumbags.
If somebody steals from me, I'm thinking, you're just a piece of shit. I mean, because I just think it's so wrong. I mean, it's like, you're a fucking piece of shit if you When I was in Colombia, speaking of, that's another story right there.
All right, we're in Colombia. So you in Colombia with a client?
No.
Okay.
This wasn't about a Colombia. Well, it was about, I had this girl over, and I'm just saying how people steal stuff. And I just have these simple, the wipes in your, in your bathroom, just wipes.
Just the butt wipes.
Yeah, butt
Cold
wipes.
paper ain't good enough.
Puss wipes.
Whatever.
Armpit, ball wipes, whatever you want to do.
Sanitation wipes, whatever.
So I had this girl over, and she stole my thing of wipes, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? I mean, it's like, why would you steal my shit? Well, just something that basic. I mean, if you want, $3, $5, take them if you really want it. You want an extra? You want $10? Do you want $5? Whatever. I'm just saying that's what they do. But getting back to Colombia and South America, that's a whole different world over there.
So the wipes may be like a big thing to get there, or I don't know.
Well, it just you know, whatever. I mean, some people will take what they can get, and people that are, you know, dealing with these people in this trade, you know, here's some good advice. Put away all your shit before your person comes over, and do that. And if you're a cut guy, if you're a simp, you don't have to tell these women that you got all this money.
No.
Because that means you're on a list now. Just like all these people on Instagram and everything with all these stupid cars and all their bullshit, these chicks will check them out, and then they'll think, and then they'll have somebody, you might get set up, you might get scopolamine. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and a lot of these guppies, these dudes don't understand how it works over there. And the same thing over here, you know, people, you know, some of these women will drug people, and it goes back and forth, but it's a shady industry sometimes.
No, it's so, I was going to just say that. So you'll be very lucky if you get a really good person like Brace and I, because I would never steal. He's never has, but there's a lot of shitbags that will take advantage of you. And like he said, if you're a cuck and they know you're submissive, you don't think that girlfriend's texting her girlfriend and she's not texting her girlfriend, and now all of a sudden you have these hot girls texting you, but they're after just your fucking money.
For sure.
And then some of them will get their boyfriend. Like I can't go into names. I have a friend of mine that's like, I hate saying it.
And then you're getting extorted.
He's getting extorted.
It goes deep.
As we're talking right now,
Yes.
he's being extorted for his G-Wagon and money every month right now.
Yeah.
As we're talking right now.
It's a shady world, you know.
Pisses me off.
And you got to watch out what you're dealing with. And that leads people onto the setup too. Like you can meet these women, you go to the place, somebody could be waiting for you there, and they steal your phone, they steal your money, they steal your car, whatever. The stories go on and on and on, and that
is a very stand your ground law.
I know.
Very stand your ground state. I have a CCW. I've taken classes.
Okay.
I've never had to use my firearm.
Good.
Thank the Lord. But I've always been a firm believer in the Second Amendment.
I get you. I do too. I believe in it too.
You know, and not getting political, but I've always believed in the Second Amendment. You know, this is that. So one thing I will say, I do have a lot of great stories, just like you do. But this can be a really, really shady industry, man, with a lot of shady freaking people, man.
Both sides of it. The clients and then the providers. You never know who's being shady. I've talked to, you know, some of these women too. They say that these certain men will try to recruit them. They might beat their ass. They might steal all their shit. I mean, I'm just saying so it goes both ways.
Oh yeah, clients and people.
So it's the whole thing. It's just so shady.
And I'd like not to pat ourselves on the back, but I think guys, especially guys like you and I, we are blessed. We have made it. We never got. I mean, as far as I know, with you, I know me personally, I never got addicted to drugs. I never got addicted to gambling. I never found myself in a situation I couldn't get out of. I never really had any bad things, and I've only had really good experiences. Like my experience today, I'm not going into detail, but I was at the Bellagio hanging out, whatever I want to drink, whatever I want. Again, like, and then when these people tell me we're gonna call you forever for now, and the guy we had stole my husband's Rolex. I went, what?
Jesus Christ.
I mean, and these are the night. Like, I don't know how you could.
That's so shady.
I don't know how you could sleep at night. It's just shady. People who use people and manipulate are the shittiest people in the world.
I agree.
And it pisses me off.
And again, it goes back to you say some of these people that have nothing to lose are the people that do all that. You know?
Yes.
People that are, grounded and already successful and have things and are smart and aren't on drugs or alcohol. It's a whole different world compared to people that are desperate. And people that are desperate that don't have anything. And there's a lot of people that just don't have anything. I mean, there's a lot of people driving around in these $100,000 cars, and it's like month to month, they're just surviving. They don't have, the average person can't come up with 10 grand cash.
I know this freaking idiot. He's a moron, allegedly, but he's a alleged moron. Lives paycheck, not even paycheck to paycheck, has kids.
That's from like a lot of people.
Has kids from different moms and all that shit. God bless him, whatever. But he would brag to me about his Louis Vuitton belt. I'm like, this is where my mind
goes. And he
goes.
has nothing.
I said, what property do you own? I own property. What property do you own?
Yeah.
What investments have you made? Oh, your Louis Vuitton belt that has no value once you walk out of the store. You know, by the way, we're talking about belts. This is called a wrench belt. $15.99 on Amazon, and these things are the best. I love the wrench belts. There are no more holes.
Well,
I love these things.
You'll find that the people that made their own money, that are millionaires today, that made their own money by working hard, they didn't do all these things that everybody that's poor does today. Like a lot of these,
they would never buy a belt.
80% of the people driving $100,000 cars can't afford them. Okay, 80% that are driving, they got that big car payment, and for some reason they're worried about making everybody think they're successful when they're not. I mean, I just thought this girl had an Audi payment, $1,600 a month.
$1,600 for a car payment
plus insurance.
That's another $400. So she's paying $2,000 a month.
And that's the stripper escort mentality. And I'm just saying. So if you took that same amount of money for all those years and the years before, and you bought Bitcoin.
Oh my God! Or property. I'm an old school. I buy property.
If you were around 10, 12 years ago, everybody that was around me, I'm choking them out to tell them to buy Bitcoin. And that when I met you,
that's just what it went down. I think Bitcoin's around $100,000.
Yeah, call it $100,000, whatever. I'm just saying that's what I told everybody that listened to me 10, 12 years ago is a millionaire right now, because you only need 10 to be a millionaire.
Oh, that's it.
10.
That's it.
10.
But the thing about the Bitcoin is, I'm not saying Bitcoin's a safer one, but it could always crash.
It can, but whatever. Yeah, it's good to have silver. It's good to have raw land. It's good to have real estate. You know, duplexes, houses, whatever.
So I was with a family for many years, and I was always taught just to buy land. Yep. So I mean, it can never go down.
But land doesn't produce income like a rental does.
But you get the land. Land will never depreciate.
I own a piece of property, so it's good to have it in your portfolio.
But
it's good to have a few different things.
You can. My point being is if you're going to brag about a Louis Vuitton belt, because people who actually can afford those, they're not bragging about it. They just have it because they have so much money they don't give a shit. And a lot of people that have that money, they're not buying that. They're going to buy the $15 wrench belt.
Because they're the ones that made their money on their own. Yeah. The people that inherited, or they took it from a woman that took it from a man in a divorce. That's funny. They go out and they spend it. They burn it and within 3 years it's usually gone, because they don't know what it's like to even get your first $1 million.
Exactly.
Thank you. Like I got an uncle that's probably worth $10 million, whatever. He don't buy nothing. He Warren Buffett, billionaire, lives in the same house he did 40 years ago. It's like
God rest his soul. The comedian Gilbert Gottfried before he died.
Yes.
Same. I didn't know him personally, but you would hear from other comedians that when he would travel, he would always take the soaps and shampoos from the hotels. He would have, when you went to so he had one of those in New York. He had one of those there's a few people that have them in LA still, where it's the rent fixed.
Okay.
Where it hasn't gone up.
Okay.
So he had a prime thing in New York that I think was under $1,000 a month.
Yep.
And I heard that when you went to his house, he would sit on lawn chair furniture. He did not give a shit.
Wow.
He did not give a shit.
Wow.
And the guy's loaded.
Yeah.
But you're right. People who you don't have anything to prove, because you have it. So who gives a shit? And
again, you go through stages. Like in your 20s, okay, you make money, you want to buy a car like every man does. So you get a car. You want to have a nice place to live, whatever, you get that too. And as you get older, I read this book 20 years ago called The Millionaire Next Door, and it talked about buying 5-year-old cars, 4-year-old cars, get them half price, pay cash, drive it for 10 years. And that, a couple of my friends that are millionaires too, they did the same thing, and they said they could, they're getting this extra $800,000 a month or whatever that goes into real estate or something else. So they said it was a big change. They could see turn the corner at that point.
So I've only driven BMWs for the last 15, 20 years of my life, but I've never bought one new.
Yeah.
I've always found a deal.
Yeah.
I've never spent more than $25,000 on a car. I never will. In fact, when I spent the 25, that was 5 more than I wanted to spend. Yeah. I told myself I wasn't going to spend more than 20. And I was like, it was such a good deal. The miles were low, and I'm going to drive it. I don't have anything to prove. I'm going to drive it for 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a nice car. I take care of it. It gets me to A to B. It's 4 doors. And I don't think you have to have the nicest car, but I do believe that one thing that got me to get a nice car. So I'm doing these, when I first moved to Las Vegas, I had what I worked for was a 1998 Pontiac Bonneville.
Okay.
And I had my first call at a mansion here in Vegas, and you weren't allowed to park on the street. and I had to park in the driveway. And then when the girls are waiting for you outside.
Is that the definition of a hoopty?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I worked hard for it.
But you were just starting out too, and nobody bought it for you.
I bought it. I bought that working at Taco Bell. Brace.
Good. There's nothing wrong with that.
I walked to work the Taco Bell before I moved out here.
Because you made it on your own, and that's why you watch it, and that's why you figured out that nobody's going to pay for your shit.
Yeah.
Other than you.
But what my eyes up to, you should probably get something. You don't have to go out and spend $100,000. You can literally spend 10 or 15.
Just clean it up a little.
But I remember parking in that driveway, and I was like, they were so nice to me. Yeah. But I was like, oh my God, like
that's hilarious.
Every car in the driveway was just, and here I am in my hoopty. I'm supposed to be the hot stripper.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling up in this hoopty night,
It's a good lesson.
It was.
How it made you feel. And then so that you could hold on to that, and you could understand that when other people, younger people, are pulling up and they're just starting out too.
You know that they're and you don't judge them.
Yeah, you don't judge them. They're just people trying to start out, and and the people that made their own money, you got to pat them on the back, because a lot of these people that got money from someone else or their parents or whatever, they're assholes, and they don't even appreciate it.
The biggest assholes I know. I have a buddy of mine that inherited and he acts like he fucking is made every. He looked at me in the eyes one day. He goes, "You'll never have much money as me." And I'm like, "Dude, your daddy gave you everything." I remember he invited me to his house, and I was like, "Oh, this is what your dad bought you." Because I earned this. I went, "Your dad gave you a freaking business." It's like he'll never understand the value. And people who rub money in people's faces, never. The more times than not, they didn't earn it.
Yeah, they're delusional. They're just delusional. It's just
scumbags.
Funny. And they just live in a different world. And they're the ones that go through it like crazy. And, the only people that really understand money are the people that made it on their own.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say that at least I even right now, man, I could get a little emotional about it. I remember a vivid day. So I grew up in Greenfield, Indiana. And before I had a car, I would walk to work to Taco Bell. And I remember walking to work one day when it was raining. I remember I used to wear jackets and would change my clothes when I got there, and I would walk home. But it's the how you find yourself in that, because I've always been a rock and roll fan, and I would always listen to music. I remember those walks to work and those walk homes, listening to music, thinking about, this is not going to be me forever. This is not going to be me forever.
Yeah.
This is not going to fucking be me forever. And I went from walking to work to Taco Bell to getting a job at a factory called Bunzel, to bringing box bologna sandwiches to lunch, to coming out to Vegas. And one of my first big gigs was at the Wynn, eating at Steve Wynn's Steakhouse. And I made like $800 or $900 that night. And I was like, holy cow. And it made me appreciate it.
I love it.
It made me appreciate it, though, because I was not used to that.
Yeah. And
I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. This is amazing. And it's still, that Taco Bell story I tell you keeps me grounded to this day. To this day, I still ground. And I'm super nice. Whenever I go to fast food places, I am so nice to fast food workers.
You should be.
I'm overly nice.
Why wouldn't you? Some people are assholes.
Life is short.
But that brings me to a deal about goals. And a lot of people, you talk about goals and things like that. And you ask some people if they have goals. And they'll say, "Oh, yeah, I've got goals." And you go, "Well, have you wrote them down?" And they're like, "Well, no." And if you don't write down your goals, they're like wishes. And I've got a good story for you. So when I was married, my ex-brother-in-law, he was really into all these self-help books like Think and Go Rich and The Secret,
the Highly Habits of
all this. And there's one message that is so true to the universal, energy and power and rules, is that you become what you think about all day long. Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, it's all about what you think about. And when I used to, when I was working at GM, I used to think about, I need to get to LA. I need to go act. I want to go act. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? Him and I made these affirmation tapes in '96, and two things that I said on these affirmation tapes. And of course, I wrote all these down.
You had to write them down.
Oh yeah,
wrote
them down on my cards. But I wanted to
write them down.
I wanted to get a black belt in Yoshokai Aikido, which is one of the hardest Aikidos left in the world.
Is that like a crotch?
It's Yoshokai Aikido.
Okay.
And then my second goal was to get a TV show. And I have this audio today. Show. So I got them both. But that
No way!
Aikido took me 7 years.
Let's go.
But get this: the night before my black belt test, which was you don't get there till about 6-7 years. So during the 7 years, 3 years of my weekends were to these schools called Kenshu. The first one was for 21 months, and the next on the weekends.
This ain't no joke.
No, it's serious. Everything was in Japanese, so all the tests in Japanese. It was like you could hear a pin drop. There's no fucking around. The second Kenshu was for senior students and instructors, and that was every weekend for 1 year. So that was on top of my normal training. So I did all these classes like for years, and I'm getting ready to take my black belt. The night before I'm driving home, I get clipped by a semi, and I'm in a 4x4 or like a SUV, and I spin like 10 times. I mean, I'm like, I should have been dead. I had my seatbelt on, but anyhow, I wake up and my vehicle is all on the wheels, and I wake up to this guy, and I was in a ditch, and he's looking at me right in there, and he says, he knocks on the window, he says, "Sir, are you okay? Are you okay, sir?" And I said, "I don't know." So I'm moving my body around, and then I open up the door, and he goes, "Where's that lady? Where's that lady?" I go, "What are you talking?" He asked me that 4 times, and I'm picking up my shit and my buki, my martial arts stuff. Everything in my vehicle was thrown, and my windows were blown out, whatever, and I had dirt and grass on. But he kept asking me, "Where's that lady?" I go, "Dude, what are you asking me about a lady for?" He says, "My wife and I were about a quarter mile behind you. We saw you flip and twirl. We pulled over, look out, and there's the lady standing there looking at you in through your window." He says, "We walk up here and nobody's here."
And you're like, "What lady?"
And here's the point of this whole story.
Wow.
It was the goals. I had to get that black belt test done because I've been studying for 6-7 years. And my body, I couldn't keep up with the training anymore. I was popping shit and tearing shit. And if I didn't get this test, I don't know if I could have gone another 6 months. Because we had to show up at the dojo at 5 a.m. for like 2 weeks prior just to prep for the test coming up. It was just serious shit. So anyhow, here comes the ambulance and everything, and I'm just like, no. I'm just like, I'm good. I flipped a few times. I feel pretty good. I could feel it in my shoulder, my tibia.
Like, thank God. But
yeah.
You just felt a little sore.
Yeah. So then I go home or whatever, and I came back and I took my black belt test the next morning, and I passed. But the moral of the story is that goal was so set in my mind where I knew I had to get it done because of my physical ability to be able to continue the training. I mean, because I just couldn't train that hard anymore because it's a bitch. I mean, it's a lot of hard work.
It's no bull. It's no joke.
So that's just a story I tell about the power of goals when you write them down. And the major goals. I mean, how many people could say out in the world, I'm going to be on a TV show, and how many people are going to say, I'm going to sacrifice 7 years of my life to this martial art until I get a black belt. So I'm just saying those are 2 of my goals, and this is a true story. And I just made them happen, and it's just crazy.
That's pretty nuts.
And the universe brings it to you.
So I have a saying I always had. The universe can't decipher what's good or bad, so you better make it good.
Yeah, there you go.
The universe is going to play catch.
You become what you think about all day long.
That is so true.
You become what you think about all day long.
That is so true.
And if you're doing a little bit toward that goal every day, the universe has no choice but to give it to you, to bring it to you. It's not going to give it to you because you earned it. But if you're thinking about it every day and you're doing little things every day or every week to get closer to that goal, and you're writing down your goals, anything can happen. You can be, have, or do whatever you want in your life. You just got it's all about sacrifice.
So I have to ask, if people are going to see this, and how can they find you, like, on social media?
They can't.
You have an Instagram.
No.
You have a
I'm
Facebook.
off everything.
You have a Twitter.
Nope.
You have a website.
Nope.
So right here, we're going to put the graphic. You can't find it.
The only thing that I do right now is I do videos on a Memo, this website for videos.
There's no way we can get a hold of you.
No, I'm off.
Brace is off the grid.
I've been off the grid for years just because people were hacking into my shit. And
so if you want to get a hold of Brace, just get a hold of me, and I'll get a hold of Brace or get a hold of Nick Hawk. I don't know if you fucked up.
I don't know what they want to get a hold of me for anyhow, because I'm not really doing much anymore. But
when this show comes out,
if somebody has a TV series that they want me to get involved in or whatever, I would get involved. And here's the thing: I've had about 7 or 8 different producers that would contacted me that want to do a show, and it's so funny, these Hollywood people. They it's like they have a friend and they're all drinking, and all of a sudden your name comes up. Oh, you know Brace? Yeah. Oh yeah, I know him. I got his phone number right here. Oh, we got to hang out with him sometime. Well, let's call him up and tell him that we got a show for him, or we're interested in a show.
This bullshit to get you to hang out.
Oh my God,
fuck that.
These fucking assholes.
I've been there,
and
bro.
I'm telling you, it's just, that's Hollywood right there. So I mean, I would have liked to have done a show and put it on the internet. And here's the thing: if I would
still can.
If I know. But if I would have done a show with these one assholes that I just blew off, we could have done a show, and I wanted to do a Brace Academy where I bring in like these 5 guys, maybe a transgender.
I know all the trannies.
Okay, and start a new show called Brace Academy, where we're got a house like this, and we have meetings, and then they're sending them out on their deals or whatever. It'd be a great show. It'd be a fucking huge winner. And imagine if we did this show and we had these episodes all lined up for when Paramount comes out and streamlines the old Gigolos.
So that's what I'm saying. You need to at least make an Instagram. My opinion, do what you want.
I'd have to start over.
So what? Because that Paramount's going to come out. This is going to come out. This is going to get great views, and people are going to want to know how to find you. I'm just saying, like, you don't have to.
I know.
But I'm saying, if you just make a generic Instagram, make one picture and put. Like this, like I have a few of my friends that just have one. They put one picture, they have your name, and so that people can find you somehow. So you can just go through your message requests. So you can just fucking pick and choose who you want to. So
you're right.
Wrapping things up. And again, I low key looked up to you. You've always been to me a guy of inspiration. Yeah, I thought you've always had it together. What advice could you give any young guy or any young person watching this show going through hard times right now? What advice could you give anybody?
Well, I would say that, if I told my life story about where the problems that I had in my life and the obstacles that I've overcame, you'd get up and you'd wipe yourself off and you'd start, continuing your life. Because no matter what you do, whether you're getting a divorce, or you got a drunk driving, or you had to go to jail for 6 months, and whatever it may be, you go through it, you move on, and don't let people keep you down, because I've gone through some shit before, and I'm just like, I'm going forward, and I'm going to win, and then in the end, I won. I fucking won big time.
You're damn right. And
I fucking won.
I will co-sign with Grace on that. I will, because the same way. You know how many times when I was walking to work to Taco Bell, where people make fun of me, and I always knew I wasn't going to stay there forever.
Yeah.
And I always knew. And again, I've said this a ton of times before. Keep a positive mind. Try to keep a positive a positive outlook. And if someone does you wrong, don't focus your energy on that. Just that's bad. Move on from that, and just keep moving forward. So anybody out there who's struggling, I know you come from humble beginnings. Everyone that knows my story knows I came from humble beginnings. Not saying that you have to be a esteemed gentleman or a companion like ourselves, but there are ways out of your situation right now. Drugs are never the answer. Drugs are never the answer. I'm going to say that again. I'm a big believer in drugs are never the answer. This guy right here smokes cigars and I sip on wine. And I'm just saying drugs are never the answer.
That's true. Excessive drugs. I mean, even alcohol. I mean, I
said sip on wine.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing. I've seen it with these women too. Oh my God, what's going on with the women right now? They're all on antidepressants. They start taking Xanax, they drink, and they black out, and they go crazy on you. So I'm just saying, when you're on antidepressants, you're on Xanax, and you're drinking, you're not the person that you're supposed to be. You're an asshole. Yes. Okay, you are an asshole. You're clueless. You're blacking out, and you're making a fool of yourself.
You're not even you.
And it's sad. It's a sad situation, because I've seen it and I've lived it. These women are just assholes, and they make fools, and men do too. I'm just saying, if you're getting into that realm and you're getting in trouble and you're getting problems with your partner, whatever, it's because of alcohol and booze or alcohol and drugs. you're not who you're supposed to be
No,
when you're on all
you're
that.
not, because you're numbing your soul.
No, exactly.
And whatever problems you have, and if you're having problems, again, this is coming from two positive guys. Reach out to someone. You know how good it feels just to talk to somebody. Because I've had some
a normal person.
Yes, or what? Someone. I mean, who's normal?
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what you mean. Someone who would think would actually give you some good feedback. Not go. Hey, it's gonna be all right. Let's chug this fucking vodka and smoke this.
That's older, that has some experience to back it up. You know, it's just like anything. You know, you get a lot of people that tell you about real estate that don't even own any, or you get these girls on TikTok. They're telling you about how relationships or marriages, and they've never even been married before.
Social media is a great thing. I think it's also a very.
I know. Anybody could be an expert at anything, and the older people are, the smarter they should be. Not everybody is, but I'm just saying those are the people that people should be listening to. People that have the experience.
People look up to these social media people too bad. Bryce, you're an amazing guest.
Thank you.
And you've lived an amazing life, and you were an inspiration to me.
It's not over.
No, absolutely not.
We could go on and on. We could talk about it. There's so much more.
So no social media. You're off the grid.
Right now,
So you have a show coming out on Paramount Plus.
Yep.
And Paramount
Plus.
Sometime this year, 2025. We have a show coming out about the Ash murders.
A documentary.
A documentary about the Ash murders. And then they're actually going to re-release the 6 seasons of Gigolos, correct?
Yep. Stream it with it somehow, whatever they do that.
You can look for Brace on Paramount Plus. Again, thank you for watching. This is Real Vegas Podcast. My name is Tyler Made. And again, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. And we'll see you for a new episode every Thursday. Brace, thank you so much, man.
All right, thank you. Peace out.
Hey, peace out, guys.
Thank you for watching Real Vegas Podcast. Real people and real conversations. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.